Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode review. This one's going to be for Season 4, Episode 4, The Outlaw Armaggon. This was just an okay episode, I thought. Once again, I think the main problem is just that they still haven't really got back to the main plot. Like at the end of the last episode, where they're like, oh, we have the signal of the Triceraton ship. I'm like, cool, maybe next episode we'll get back to it. What does this episode end with? Hey, we got the signal back. It's just like, is this what most of the season is going to be? They kind of hint at like, okay, this is the next step in our journey, but this happens, then this happens, then this happens. Oh, now we're going to do it. Why not just get to the point? Like, I get that that's what this show has kind of been doing up to now. It's always been having these distractions and stuff like that, but why not make a change and just make it a little bit more fast paced and stuff like that? I really don't get the need to have these episodes like this. And there was just a lot going on in this episode, and I think it focused on the stuff that it didn't need to focus on. At the start of the episode, they set up this really interesting dynamic of, okay, the Fugitoid is trying to help April control her psychic powers. Cool, I'm really happy to get some focus on that again because it's been hinted at here and there, but it hasn't really been focused on or explained all that much. And then they finally asked the Fugitoid to explain why he has a human brain but is mainly a robot. And you get the backstory, but they devote about 10 seconds to explaining his own backstory and give no depth to it. No real explanation for most of the events that happen in the flashback. It's just like, this happened, I was a scientist exploring mysteries and the Triceratons attacked me. And it's just like, okay, there's his connection to the Triceratons, but why are they after him? Like, they're the sort of things I want to know. Not them encounter this weird ship and it turns out to be an AI and it turns on them and there's this bounty hunter after them because this insect guy hates the turtles really badly for someone who's only met them once. It's just like, this show fundamentally, I don't think, knows what's important and what's not important, and what I think most people will be interested in and not interested in. You know, like the shark guy Armaggon in this episode, like really cool design, but okay, bounty hunter, fair enough, because technically most of your Earth-based villains are dead because of what happened to Earth. You need more villains. Okay, but I don't really care about this guy all that much. They kind of set up something interesting in that potentially, he seems like he's more about doing his job than anything else. So he doesn't seem like the sort of guy who will always be against the turtles. He can work with them when he needs to. So they could do something interesting with that, but again, like, I don't really know him as a character. The Lord Drax or whatever his name is, the insect lord guy, I really don't get what they're going for with him. I thought he was kind of this throwaway villain for like the first episode, and that was about all we're going to see of him. But they seem to be setting him up like he's going to be like at least the main villain that's not the Triceratons for this season, and I really don't get what they're going for. It just seems really weird that he's just like, the reason he hates them is because of like just a random event. The turtles like made a mistake on the planet and they fought and he's pursuing them now. It just seems like, hey, do you not have anything better to do than pursue four turtles who you really don't know all that much? It's just a case where, okay, I get you want me to care about this, but that's not what I care about. I care about like Fugitoid's backstory getting more depth. I care about April and her powers being explored. I care about the main plot that you've been avoiding for the last few episodes. Like, it's just like, what are you really trying to do with an episode like this? As I said before, too often than not, this show is just action for action's sake without actually like making it of note. Like, this AI thing, is it ever going to come back? Is it ever going to be memorable again? Even then, they could have, I think, done something really interesting with this episode. Maybe made it a two-parter or something like that, where you set up a little bit of a kind of horror story, where they arrive on this ship, they find out that the people who run the ship have been killed. You maybe delve a little bit into the backstory about what's going on here, and make it a proper side story rather than just this kind of rushed one episode to get a fight out of the turtles. Really delve into like what happened to the AI rather than it all being like super rushed. The AI at the same time trying to kill them, as he's explaining like, oh, I don't like humans anymore and I'm turning on you. Like make it a build rather than like you have this bounty hunter after them at the same time as this. Just it's so packed with stuff that like isn't the most important. Whereas it could have focused on some of the other aspects of the episode that it didn't focus on and made the episode overall better. But they didn't go for that. And when it comes down to it, the turtles really didn't do anything of note in the episode. Leo once again had the whole leader, taking up the main responsibility at the fight at the end. Raph comes back to save him. Loyalty, cool. But for me, the most interesting aspect of the whole episode was, and I think it could have been executed better, but it was what they did with Professor Honeycutt Fugitoid. Just delving a little bit into his character, because we haven't got to know him all that well. He's just kind of appeared, he's going to help the turtles, fair enough, they seem to be friends with him now, but like actually getting a little bit of the backstory, finding out who he is as a character, the kind of core thing is that even though he's in a machine and like he's obviously missing his human body, he doesn't want to just become a robot. He wants to be thought of as more than just a machine, that he is still Dr. Honeycutt and not just the Fugitoid. And, he's definitely living a little bit in fear that the machine will kind of take over. And, I do feel they could have explained it a little bit better with what happened, in that before the AI took over him, he started to malfunction a bit. And then the AI took over him, and I felt that kind of, the AI taking over him, basically the villain of the episode kind of thing, that really took away from what could have been like a really interesting character exploration of Dr. Honeycutt and him dealing with the kind of body he's in and stuff like that. But they ended up making it just like, okay, Dr. Honeycutt's been taken over by the AI, let's stop the AI and free Dr. Honeycutt. And it led to a really nice moment from April using her psychic abilities. Like, she seems to have some form of control over them now, and was able to get through to him and kind of break the AI's hold over him and kind of get him out of that. So there was that, and then just kind of hinting at the fact that he kind of is effectively like a fusion bomb about to go off if he kind of gets overloaded too much, if he malfunctions too much. There's kind of some foreshadowing there potentially down the line, but it just felt like this episode could have been a really good episode to focus on April and the Fugitoid, but because this show has this completely unnecessary need to have the turtles fight every single episode, it really took away from what could have been a really nice character-focused episode. And the thing is, again, at this point in time, I really have no basis idea what the turtles' fighting level actually is, because they seem to really just get destroyed by any new villain they meet. Then they kind of have a comeback, but just kind of bumble their way to kind of victory in the end. I just want them to establish like how powerful the turtles are in relation to certain other characters. And right now, because all of the villains are new, they've got all new weapons which they haven't really used that effectively and stuff like that, I don't really have a good idea about this. And the only way I could compare them would be to bring back other characters like the villains from the first few seasons, but because of the whole time travel plot, they can't be involved. So it's weird what's going on, and I'm just... It means I'm not that invested in the fights anymore, because I know the turtles are rarely going to be in any danger of actually getting hurt. And the few times that they are, I don't really care that much, because I don't know how powerful the turtles are meant to be, or how powerful I'm meant to think they actually are. Like, there are times when I'm like, oh, it's really clear that they're actually just ninjas in training and aren't actually as good as I think they are. And then there are other times where I feel like I'm meant to believe that they're kind of close to becoming masters themselves. And it's just very confusing overall. So, it's one of these things where the writers, or whatever they're doing, they keep trying different things with this show. And I think my overall problem with the show is that they introduce too many new things constantly. I sort of get this season that they kind of have to do it, but it was a huge problem in season 2 and 3 that they just can't seem to accept that, hey, you know our 4 main characters, the turtles? They actually do need to be developed. It's not just that they're known quantities and they're just going to be there the whole time. You do actually probably need to develop them to make people care about them. You don't have to introduce a villain every single episode to make a new episode. You can actually have the characters that you've already established do something with. And at times they do it. The focus on Splinter and his backstory last season was really well done. And at times with some of the other characters they do this as well. Like Leatherhead, I think, is a good example of a character who could have been one of these one-note characters that just appears in one episode and is okay. But they actually did something with his backstory and the various appearances he has. Same with Slash, I think, as well. But they haven't done that with barely any of the characters since then. But yeah, that's been the review of the episode. You know, I really wasn't that big a fan of this episode. I didn't think it was awful. I thought it tried to do something interesting. I hope they get back to the plot next episode. I hope they address April's psychic powers more and what they tried to do with Dr. Honeycutt in the episode. But I really have no faith that they're going to expand on that. So that's basically the end of the review. I'm aware that people in the comments on the last video drew my attention to the fact that there's this other Turtles animation thing, like Half Shell Heroes, this Blast of the Past 1 hour special. I don't know if I'm going to review it or not. Just because I'm not very clear on if it's a separate continuity or if it's meant to be part of this, or if it's just meant to be a 1 hour fun special. If it's in continuity, I'll probably give it a watch. If not, I really don't see the need for me to do it, just because it's got this separate animation style. I get the feeling that, like, I probably would have heard about it if it was meant to be important, so it doesn't really feel that important. But overall, that's been the review. Thanks for watching the video, and bye.